Hello everyone and welcome to another game of full of warships. Today we are in the Atago, the tier 8 Japanese premium cruiser. We are on a new map, Land of Fire, in a tier 8 battle. Now the Atago recently received some attention. As you can see down here, there is newly added a heal. It's basically the same thing that battleships usually get, but you only can use it 2 times. Also, we see that the defensive fire has now also limited uses. Besides that, the rudder shift time of the Atago was reduced by 20%, I believe. Now, I was quite okay with the Atago as it was before, but the buff is always nice. And the Atago, well, someone described it as a floating citadel, and yes, the Atago isn't very well armored, and showing your broadside can often be a death sentence. So the heal is really nice, since you'll take damage. You just have to stay alive long enough to actually use the heal, I guess. Now on this new map I decided to go to point C, and I met a destroyer and set him on fire. Now as you can see, the capture points have different sizes. If you go to C, which is the smallest point, you are going to get pretty close and personal to the enemy. And if that enemy is carrying torpedoes, it's probably not the best idea. Now, I have scored some damage on that destroyer and he will die any second now. His torpedoes weren't launched very well, so I easily dodged them. My torpedoes were completely pointless as well. So fair enough. But I'm still not in a very good spot. There is no cover inside this point. I'm getting shot at by an Atago and a Cleveland. There is still a destroyer somewhat nearby. And there might be other ships that we haven't seen yet. Now, this looked like I was getting shot in the arse, and no idea what that was about. But anyhow, I've switched to armor piercing now, and you can now see with the improved rudder shift time I can actually make that turn. Otherwise I would have probably driven into some land and would have been a sitting duck. Now I've said before that you don't want to expose your broadside, and now I'm exposing my broadside to a Colorado, an Atago and a Cleveland. The reason that I'm alive is because, as you can see, I'm on fire, so some of them are shooting high explosive and they aren't hitting that well. But I wisely run away. I'm a bit too far forward. Only a destroyer is here with me, and that destroyer he probably isn't spotted. He has good camo. My team is finally arriving. You might also note that the enemy has B, pretty much uncontested, I think. We have a lot of people at A, but nobody ever tried to go into the point. And after a long time, finally my reinforcements at C are here. And I think that destroyer might start to cap now. Now while I'm driving away slowly and hopefully surviving, let's talk a little bit about the map. I'm not sure how much of a difference the different sizes in the capture points make. Also, if you start at this side, it's oftentimes a problem, because if you say point C, for example, isn't good because I'm a battleship, and there are too many small islands around here, well, what are your options? If you go for B, B is too much in the open, and A is so far away. I sometimes think that might be a problem of this game, that you can't choose where your ship spawns, and there is such a large difference, especially for a battleship. And sometimes it's not a good idea to drive to the closest point, but it's also not that great idea to drive to the point farthest away. I don't know. I also have to say that it's not easy designing a map, or different maps in World of Warships. If you have like World of Tanks, you can add hills and ridge lines and maybe a stone to go hull down. You can add bushes for cover. There are a lot of options, and that makes it hard to actually balance a map, but it makes it easy to create different maps. What are you going to do on the ocean? All you can do is you place islands, and you can place big islands, small islands, and some islands high enough that you can't shoot over them or something. There isn't that you can't have like different elevations. It's not like you can include a waterfall or something. So I'm guessing what they often try is to lighten things up with having different spawns, or here changing the size of the capture circles. I mean, I think they're doing an okay job for now with the maps. I'm not comfortable with all of them, but it's okay. The game is still relatively new, I guess. And basically I like how this map looks. Now my little circle is coming to an end. I've once again engaged in a battle. You've also seen me miss a lot of shots by now, because I'm not that great at aiming. And there are torpedoes coming my way. Now I can dodge them, thankfully. There are still 2 destroyers pretty close to me, and there are still a lot of people up there shooting it. And while I spent all the time driving from sea backwards and then returning to sea, my team has... Well, I mean, 2 guys have decided to hug the zone wall, and the others are once again behind me, I guess. Except that cruiser here. Now we are going to kill ourselves a destroyer. You can also see the Atago is very accurate with its guns. Generally, I like the Atago, especially now that it can heal. Just imagine, I've already used that consumable 2 times. If your captain is high enough, you can use it 3 times. If you get that skill at tier 3. And I've just set another Atago at fire. I probably should be shooting armor piercing, and now I've switched to armor piercing. Now all that's missing is that I hit. And will these shots hit? Yes, they do, and I scored a Citadel hit. Now he is showing me his broadside. Thankfully for him, I'm not that great at aiming. Thankfully for me, he isn't really caring about me, because he could just shoot my broadside as well. By now we are in a pretty big lead, so I don't have to be that careful. If I sink now, it won't really affect the game. I can take more risks. And I don't see much point in being more aggressive, especially since they are ignoring me and I can just shoot at them. So I'm just slowly driving. Actually, I'm driving into more enemies because I'm not paying that much attention. And all the while I'm doing a great job at missing that Atago.
Victory is in sight.
Now I'm getting closer to a few battleships. I've switched to high explosive by now. And I'm still shooting at the Atago. He is pretty low in health, so high explosive might do the trick if I actually hit. And I do hit, but it's not enough. Now I'm switching to the battleships. And this battleship has set me on fire, so he is thankfully shooting the wrong ammunition. Now I present my broadside, I take heavy damage, but I'm still alive. Which is probably luck. And this Tirpitz is in a bad spot, but he is probably dead before my torpedoes get close to him. Now, there is another Tirpitz right in front of me, and I decide he probably should be my target. His guns are not pointing my way. He is engaged with other battleships, so I can sneak up on him. Well, after I set him on fire, it's probably not much of sneaking anymore. But there is a big rock between us, and I might time my torpedoes and shoot him when we meet on the other side of the rock. That's my big plan for now. Of course, a Tirpitz has torpedoes of her own, so this plan could easily backfire also. It just got quite a lot of damage. Might not be much left to shoot at me. And his secondary batteries are opening fire. I turn my ship away to launch some torpedoes. I decide to go for a big spread because really he can't just keep driving in a straight line. He knows I have torpedoes. And unfortunately he dies before I can ever find out. Now, we are pretty close to victory. We are going to win here now, and that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the video.